Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I really enjoyed last night's episode. I didn't think I would. I felt like it was going to be kind of piecemeal and willy-nilly, and it kind of was from the information on the internet, which was completely, like, most of it was erroneous and crazy. Like, it's not, some of the stuff I saw, it looked like it was writings from a schizophrenic's mind on one of the websites. I was just like, dude, I mean, I'm not slamming schizophrenics, but they don't really have a grip on reality. And that's a lot of the information. Just, it looked like someone who, did not know anything about it because they haven't raised their own kundalini. They haven't worked with their own chakras. They haven't done any spiritual work whatsoever. They were just doing research and then regurgitating, or, they just were guessing, or they thought their higher guidance said it, but the information was unclear or wasn't. And then some of the information was actually really, really good. Like Mind Valley blog, actually, that one on the 12th chakra actually surprised me. And thank God that was good and real information. So some of it was good, some of it was bad, but then, I had to turn to my higher guidance because I feel like, well, the person who made us would know a lot more about the chakras than anybody else on earth, especially me. So asking Prime Creator some of these questions about, what the chakras were, 9th through 12th, like what they're for and where they're located and all that. And I think I forgot to say that the 11th and the 12th chakra are just like stacked on top of each other above your 10th chakra and your, your 10th and then 12th are above your 9th, and your 9th is above your 8th. Your 8th is above your 7th, which is right on top of your head. So they're all stacked up, straight up, except for the 11th chakra, which is below your feet. And God told me that was the 11th one, but all these other websites say it's 10th, and everybody counts it differently. So don't worry about the numbers or the order or even where the chakras are located. Just focus on learning the lessons of each chakra and go towards the just go towards the next one up. Once you've opened up your third eye, and you're now able to see the future and, telepath. You're starting to telepath with other people. Maybe you're starting to see auras or ghosts. I don't see them except with my higher vision. I don't see them with my actual eyes. And then after you do that, then you start opening up your 8th chakra, and you open up your 8th chakra, then you start becoming super aware of your hopping timelines and speeding up time and slowing down time and peering directly into the future and even projecting yourself into the future to see where you're going to be, how you can meet somebody or whatever, or projecting yourself into the past to kind of view something that already happened, and that's from your 8th chakra. And then once you do that, then you go to the next thing up. Well, what's the 9th chakra? Well, now I'm going to start talking with God. And then you're going to start hearing God's voice. At first, you're going to think you're absolutely crazy. Don't go running to a psychologist, or especially not to a psychiatrist, because in the best case scenario, you end up on drugs you don't need, and in the worst case scenario, you end up in a lunatic asylum. So you don't want to do that either. But I think that's the goal, is just to open it up as you go along. Like, you notice all these things are happening, acknowledge it, be grateful for it. And then what's the next thing I need to start thinking about focusing on? And that's what opens it up. So I am so thrilled, guys, about the 12th chakra, though. Oh my God, I can't stop thinking about how as soon as my 12th chakra's open, oh, am I going to magic the hell out of some red licorice. I want to pull that out of thin air. I'm going to create it with the electrons and molecules and atoms I find around me. I'm just going to make that red ropes, licorice, American Licorice Company. Oh my God. Twizzlers. Oh my God. Even nibs. I'll even magic up some nibs. If you're not from the U.S., I just sounded like a crazy person saying those things, but red licorice from the U.S. is so good. Although I have had some really good Australian licorice, I will have to tell you. In the U.S., we do have some really good imports, some really good import stores. And man, I've had some really, really good licorice from Australia, for sure. It's totally different, though. It's totally different kind of licorice. Probably healthier, actually, just to be honest. But yeah, I even asked God, first thing I got up this morning, I sat up in bed and I said, okay, God, this is the deal. If I get my powers and I misuse them and I magic up not food to serve the poor or something, but a piece of licorice for myself in the morning, am I going to lose my powers? Will my 12th chakra slam shut until I'm mature enough to handle my powers? And God said, no, it doesn't work like that. After it's open, and then you can use your power because you have free will. You can use it however you want. So you're not going to lose your powers for magicking up licorice. And of course, my response to that was, woo! Yay! Thank God. Thank you, God. I'm not going to go use my powers to manipulate people or something, because that's not who I am. I feel like maybe, though, if you are that person, then you might not get to the point where you are able to open up your 12th chakra. I think it takes a great deal of humility and your connection with others. And if you're not feeling your connection with others and your 11th chakra isn't open, you're not going to open the 12th. I think it has to go in order. I mean, your 7 chakras are always open, right? But they can be shut down or underactive, right? And I don't think that the other ones really can, even though some of the websites talked about that a little bit. And I don't know if that's true. And if you have an overactive 12th chakra, you could just suddenly magically appear places. It's I don't know. Maybe that's true. I mean, I have done the bilocation thing accidentally. I didn't know I was doing it. Certainly had zero awareness of it. And I don't think that guy was paid to lie to me. He was literally freaked out, shaking in front of his friends. He was really upset. I told you guys about that story where I bilocated and went to a party I really, really wanted to go to, but there's no buses running at night, and I didn't want to be stuck at 3 a.m, having to walk home 10 miles. So I didn't go. No one wants to be in the city after dark. Where I was at, there was a lot of gangs and stuff in certain neighborhoods along the way, and I'm no, I don't want to risk that, and I don't want to take a chance on maybe someone may or may not have a car, and are they drunk? And I just was I'm just gonna stay home and do my homework and be good for once. And I ended up bilocating and went to the party anyway. And I talked to somebody that if I had been consciously aware, I would have talked to him. And then when I saw him the next day, I didn't recognize him. It wasn't just a case of face amnesia, which oftentimes does happen to me. It's even happened with movie stars that I met, and it's oh, you're so familiar. Do we go to high school, or were you in my college? It's I don't know where the hell I know these people. If they are slightly familiar. But, yeah, I don't know. I really want to open up my 12th chakra. Something I've noticed since my 11th chakra opened up is I can look at any nature picture and spot all the fairies and all the gnomes, all of the magical creatures. And I think that they were always there, but I didn't notice them before. Right now I'm looking at a picture on my Google Chromecast, which I named I Am Worthy, because I like that energy of that. And I'm seeing I see a gnome face in the rocks. Oh, there's two. I could just pick them out. There's two. There's maybe a third one possibly. And then the water is making a face as well. Oh, there's two. Oh, there's a little kitty cat face in the water. That's adorable. So, but every single picture, I'm telling my son, oh, look at that face. Look at that face. Look at that female face. Look at that male face. Look at that. If you guys have ever looked at Brian Froud's fairy cards, the fairy oracle, or I don't know, oh my God, you got to go look at his art. You can actually go do a reading on his website. I think it's called Froud.com, Froud.com, if it's still there. And I bought his cards years and years ago because of this website. And I mean, his cards are so expensive, but they're worth it. But all the ways that the creatures look as they're kind of blending into each other, and there'll be two creatures standing next to each other, but as they're blending together, a third face emerges. That's what it looks like in nature. Exactly. I've seen a lot of the same faces, the fairy folk that pop out. And I used to have wooden cupboards in my kitchen when I lived in Magalia, which is just north of the town that burned down, Paradise, California. And when I was there, sometimes I'd look at the cabinets and there'd be faces in the cabinets. And then other times I'd look and there'd be nothing. And I'm like, is it my perceptual awareness, or is it when they trust me? And there was something to think about for sure, Okay, so, I don't know, guys. I'm going to tell you guys the Schumann Resonance. I had to have a sip of my tea there. Okay. Disclosurenews.it today, they say, and the 8:30 a.m. report, usual activity around the 17th of the month, which is tomorrow. Today, the movements started in a rather sudden and powerful way, but initially with isolated peaks. The first was just before midnight UTC at 30 hertz. This was followed by 44 hertz at 6 UTC, and then what is now the strongest, 63 hertz at 8 UTC. And then in the 1700 report, calm. That was it. So now I'm excited. What's going to happen tomorrow? They build it up with that kind of a suspense. That's great, right? All right, so according to heartmath.org, California was at 137 hertz frequency on the Schumann Resonance at midnight, and they went down to 135 at 4 a.m. Hofuf in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, they were at 109 hertz frequency at midnight and went down to 106 4 hours later at 4 a.m. Lithuania started off at midnight at 132 hertz frequency, and they only went to 133. There's another master number. 33 has actually been coming up a lot for me lately. 133 at 4 a.m. Again, that's for Lithuania. Alberta, Canada was at 237 at midnight, and they went down by 7 points to reach 230 hertz frequency by 4 a.m. And Northland, New Zealand started at 87 at midnight and only went to 88, yet another master number. So now we have a 44, 33, and an 88. If you guys care to look those up, those might be angel numbers for you, especially if you've seen them other places and then heard me say it now. But yeah, so 88 hertz frequencies where Northland, New Zealand ended on the Schumann Resonance scale. And that's it, because in Hulului, South Africa, they are still at 0 all the way across. So, all right. The Course in Miracles, acim.org, which is the Foundation for Inner Peace. They put out free lessons. You can go and do them anytime and read all of the books. I'm only reading a little bits and snippets from the lessons because I happen to know they're high in vibrational frequency, and they're good reminders for all of us because on some level, you already know this information. And it's good to bring it out and know it, you know? And the words that are used, like the words sin, salvation, I wanted to bring this up. It's to help people unravel the deeply ingrained religious programming that does not serve. A lot of us were raised Christian. I was raised Christian. I'm not a Christian now, but I was raised Christian, and it was just kind of a guilty mind trip, you know. It wasn't always 100% of the light, you know. And certain practices and beliefs in the Catholic Church, on being an outsider looking in after having been a part of it for so long, now when I look back, a lot of it makes me kind of really creeped out. In the whole communion, Holy Communion thing, I always liked it, and then someone pointed it out to me that it's cannibalism. You're literally imagining, especially if you're Catholic, you believe the second that wine hits your lips, it's blood, and you're drinking it, and you're happy about drinking blood. How reptilian is that? And you're eating the wafer, and it's bread. And then as soon as it hits your lips, it turns into Jesus's body, and you're eating his body. That's cannibalism, guys. That's draconian crap. You know, if we were going to follow in Jesus's footsteps, we wouldn't want to be eating people. You know, do you suppose that was what Jeffrey Dahmer told himself? You know, I'm being a good Catholic. Well, yeah, I don't want to get into that, but I mean, it's cannibalism. It's pure and simple. It's cannibalism. If Jesus was in front of you, sitting and talking to you, would you want to take a bite of his foot? I don't think so. So why is that part of that religion? It's one good reason why I'm not a Christian, like at all anymore. That and Jesus himself wasn't one, so. But he was an Essene and a Jew. That's going to really follow in his footsteps, I would have turned Jewish. But I turned Muslim because it includes all of the good parts of Judaism and Christianity. And, you know, so it's all together. It's like three in one. The 3-in-1 religion. Yeah, at least that's what it was for me. My friends from Kenya are Baha'i faith, and I looked into that years ago, and that's like 5 or 6 religions incorporated into one, taking the best from each faith, and I thought that was pretty cool. I'm like, yeah, I kind of like that, actually. I love that idea, just loving everybody by incorporating all of the best of their beliefs. You know, I think that's kind of cool. It's kind of how I live my life anyway. I'm not religious at all, not even a little bit. You know, I do ask God for forgiveness still when I eat bacon, but, you know, there's just some things. Yeah, it's just some things like, I'm sorry, I don't know. And God's like, the last time I ate bacon, God's like, you know, I'm going to send you to hell now. Like, literally, the voice of God said that inside my head, and I'm like, really? And he goes, no, not really. Of course not. Why would I do that? Man-made religion, I didn't. Don't stop thinking about this. But I'm still like, well, okay. I'm still like saying the words, sorry, you know. And I'm still eating the bacon, you know what I mean? I'm recording this late, and it's 1:44 right now. 1:44 a.m. So I'm sorry about that. I am getting this out late. I've had a few false starts today. I started talking, and 10, 12, 13 minutes in, I had to stop and rewind because I was off on a tangent again. The behind the scenes with me, it's just ridiculous. I thought, well, I'm going to get ready, queue up everything, and open up my oven. And I went to turn on my oven, and I put my food in there. Came here and sat down for 30 minutes. I went into my oven to get my food, and it was cold. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I smelled gas. For 30 minutes, I had been leaking. I was poisoning myself in my apartment and my kid. And he didn't smell it. Thank God he's in his own room. He probably has his window open. So he was going to be safe. I would be the one blow up myself, though, if I'd been like, oh, no, got to light that. Oops. I still have my eyebrows. I still have my hair. I didn't catch on fire. I'm still here. I had the good sense to just shut it off and open up all the windows. And 30 minutes later, then I started it. Whew, boy, I'm going to tell you, though, I braced myself. I was like, maybe I should wear a mask or something because, oh, my God, I could totally blow up myself right now. And thank God everything was fine. Oh, my God. So I had a lot of false starts. I just, for hours and I was sitting here just enjoying myself watching Suits. I hadn't watched Suits in 5 or 6 days, and I finally got back to it. And then finally, it was like one episode. I would watch 1 minute and not watch it for 2 days, and then watch that minute over and go, this is so damn boring. And I finally got past, it was like 30 minutes of boring. It was just like people swinging their dicks around at each other is what it felt like. And it didn't feel like a very balanced written episode. Then the next episode was freaking brilliant again. So, hey, I'm just sitting here enjoying myself. La, 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 la. It's 12:46. Wait, what? I got a show to make, guys. So, anyway, I am here. I'm late. Sorry about that. Anyway, Course in Miracles tonight is lesson 98. I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. So, there it is. Today's a day of special dedication. We take a stand on but one side today. We side with the truth and let illusions go. We will not vacillate between the two, but take a firm position with the one. We dedicate ourselves to truth today and to salvation as God planned it to be. We will not argue it is something else. We will not seek for it where it is not. In gladness, we accept it as it is and take the part assigned to us by God. And in a way, okay, and see, it's kind of put in a religious way, words like salvation and sin and all that. But it's just it's for people who came from those kinds of backgrounds. And I appreciate that. I don't know. I feel like as we're opening up our mind and as expanding ourselves, we are actually, for real, we are ascending, and that is our salvation. Something I wanted to bring up again, and I'm going to give you that idea again so I can close this out. I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. There's always a plan, right? All right, are we at 99? Okay, yeah. All right, God just said yeah. We are at 99 on the Ascension Symptom Scale tonight. All day today for the whole collective. So I think that melancholy, depression feeling I've been feeling is a part of it. My son has been going through something, and I might have picked up on his, but he was gone most of the day, and I was feeling it really strongly, just really depressed, like so sad. And it is, I do get very, very lonely sometimes until I realize, do I really want to just go date whoever to not be lonely? And the answer is, oh, hell no. I've seen my twin. When he comes to me, do I want to be with him? And I have to think about it. Yes, absolutely, I do. Takes me 2 seconds. Yeah. Not even 2 seconds. 0.02 nanoseconds. And yes, I want him for sure. But I'm just done with the karmic thing. I don't want to do the karmic dance. I literally have nobody I have karma with anymore. And even my ex was like asking me, like someone tried to add him and he got all bent out of shape and his nose was all out of joint. He was thinking, oh, maybe you know, maybe it's my husband or something. And he wrote to me and he's like, who is this guy? And why is he trying to add me on Facebook? He's one of your friends. And I feel like maybe, you know, he's your new husband or your last husband you'll ever have or something. And I was just like, no, you're the last husband I had, not him, right? Meaning in the past. And he was meaning, like, I will never have anyone but this guy. Like, live with him forever. And I'm like, no, you're the one. He's like, okay, good, I'm glad. I'm like, all right. It's like, he broke up with me. He doesn't have a right to be jealous about anybody. But that guy is just some dude that added me from randomly. I've never met him. We talk once in a great while. I think he's from Kashmir, actually. So he's kind of my eye on the ground as to what's happening over there. And every now and again, I get reports from him about that. But it's like so weird. Like my ex, who's a narcissist, it's like the only thing he cares about is if there's a man in my life, he has to be jealous about it. It's like been 3 whole years since we broke up, but he's still like a little bit, are you seeing anyone? Oh, thank God, good. He's just like wants to keep me in his back pocket. Like maybe we'll get together. Maybe he'll come visit me. It's like, I know he's never going to come. He'll never come over here for that. And when I say over here, he's never going to ride his motorcycle 40 hours to get here is what I'm saying. Actually, it'd probably take 20. In a bus, it takes 40 because there's like an 11-hour layover in one of the cities on the way and a 3-hour layover at the border. But he probably would get around that somehow. But I don't know. Anyway, he'll never come. He'll never come up here. I don't even think he has a passport. I don't think he could if he wanted. But it's so weird. Anyway, but there's been some weird stuff like that. You know, there's like weird emotional, like, who's that? You know, and then, you know, I've had other people like not take no for an answer. Like one guy told me, well, I'm going to come and spend time with you when I have a break. I'm going to fly over there. Like, if you want to see Ecuador, be my guest. That would be fine. This is a lovely country, and you might actually enjoy yourself. And if you're here, maybe I'll go out to lunch with you. You know, I mean, it's like, dude, like, I'll go out to lunch with you. But he's like, well, I'm going to spend a lot more time with you than that. I'm like, no, you're not. Because I don't have the time. I, like, literally don't have the time to give. But if it's my twin flame, everything, all my time is for him. Not all my time, because half my time is for you guys and doing my show. And obviously my twin's going to understand that because he's me. He's more me than you're me, even though you're me too. We're all me. We're all one. It's such a weird, these concepts are so strange, you know, and we're all opening up to all these ideas. And the minute we open one chakra, then the next chakra comes and now more stuff happens. And you're like, whoa. Cosmic Empress was noticing that she can stretch time out or shorten time, and she's controlling time now. She's like, I actually did it. I did it. I'm so excited. I totally did it. And she's learning other tricks, and she's talking about it. So if you go to the YouTube channel, she's real. She's a real deal. There's not a whole lot of people that I feel 100% confident in anymore. And I'll tell you, Shri and Kira Live or Shri and Kira on YouTube, yes, absolutely, 100%. They're for real. They've been at this for over 30 years. They've been working on ascension of themselves this whole time, and now they're helping humanity get through it. Victor Odo, he's kind of like us, stumbling through the dark, but noticing stuff and makes observations about it. Aaron Doherty, I think, is slightly a bit ahead of him, and he's real. Phil Good, for the most part, is there. You know, he's aware anyway. He gets caught up sometimes arguing with people that leave a comment that don't quite believe in what he's saying, and he kind of has to argue with them a little bit. So it's kind of weird. Every now and again it gets a little awkward, and people are like, all right, whatever. So for the most part, though, his information is good if you leave the other personal stuff aside. Ralph Smart, 100% real, 100% right on. Victor Odo, I already mentioned him, Aaron Doherty. And I'm trying to give you guys some good ones, because, there's a lot of people out there you just can't believe. And it's like you can't, like you'll believe them for a while and then they just start going into some other weird stuff that's like, I don't even know what that's about at all. Like not even a little bit. I don't understand that. But, yeah, I don't know. And some people read other people's stuff, but then there's like 2 or 3 people that were right on and everything was cool. And then all of a sudden they're reading the weirdest stuff that's making 0 sense. And it's like, why are you buying into that? You're not using your spiritual discernment, so those are the ones though. Cosmic Empress, she's lovely. She's delightful. I'm thinking I'm going to save up some money and get a reading from her, honestly. She can tell you where you come from, what your starseed origins are. And so whatever you think they are, I think you should write them down before you do a reading with her, if you decide to do it. She's lovely. She's a perfectly lovely person. She's in British Columbia, actually. And she usually films like from near the ocean or from the forest or her backyard, always from a point in nature. And one of her episodes recently, she was in the car because it was raining. And she's like, but I'm really at the beach. I took you guys to the beach. It just started raining though. And so it's really sweet because like the rain is pouring down like so loud while she's recording. It's so funny. But I don't know. It's like we got to use our spiritual discernment, guys. And I've had to delete a lot of people that I used to follow because of some crazy stuff that they just busted out with, And I think a lot of the stuff, as we're going and progressing, stuff that was deep hidden inside us starts to come out. And I think for some of these people, like when suddenly you're seeing that they're homophobic or racist or something, and that starts to come out, it's like, well, now I can't follow you, so delete, unsubscribe. But, and some people are just, they're just laying this stuff out, and then you just kind of feel like, well, you can't be a spiritual leader if you're going to have these attitudes, and, I don't know. But anyway, but those guys are the ones that are 100%, they're there. They're there. All right, what I'm going to do today, what I'm going to start today is I'm going to read the book, the Sprits Book. It's extremely long, so it's going to be a lot of Mondays. It might be a month of Mondays. I don't know if you guys ever heard a month of Sundays. I haven't heard from you in a month of Sundays. I mean, a month of Sundays, that's 30 Sundays. That's 30 weeks. That's a long time. It just means a long time. It's just an expression. But anyway, I'm probably going to be reading for a month of Mondays, the Sprits Book. And I'm thinking about reading Allan Kaldec's second book about mediums, about being a medium, because as you're opening up your 7th and your 8th chakras, you will start telepathing. If you haven't already, if you haven't opened up these chakras yet, you're about to. And when these things crack wide open, you're going to think you're cracking up. So we're going to talk about the spirits, and we're going to talk about them being a medium. So it will probably definitely be a month of Mondays for the Allan Kaldec stuff. And his work is 100% true to the spirit, no pun intended, of this show, Metaphysical Soul Speak. It's literally about how your souls speak, how you receive the divine in everyday life. And I love to explore that and the deep spiritual principles and metaphysical philosophy and ideas that has shaped me in so many ways, and shaped many of you too, or starting to. And I've been around people who just their whole lives were spiritual. That's just like all they focused on was God and meditation and service to others. And, and that's why I'm here now. I mean, you guys know I only make like $1 or $2 a day. I don't make a lot of money doing this. this is just my service to you guys so that you could come on up. Who's coming with me? I know I'm not saying that line from Jerry Maguire. I'm saying that line from Half Baked. He's saying it from Jerry Maguire, but I found out, my son and I watched Half Baked on YouTube. So I found out, if you want to see that movie, it's the best stoner movie I've ever seen. And I mean, aside from Cheech and Chong, Bow to the Masters of the weed movie genre, but oh my gosh, Half Baked is hilarious. That is one of the best ever shows, movies. But you could it's on YouTube. I couldn't believe it. Used to be on Netflix, and I can't get it in Ecuador anyway. It might still be there for you guys in other countries, but I don't know. All right, so I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I'm going to begin to read the Spirits Book, but I'm going to tell you right now, I am not going to read the first 62 pages. Believe it or not, the first 62 pages of this book, it's 420, yay, another weed reference. It's 420 pages long. And 62 pages is the author's explanations for what spirit and soul and ghosts mean. And also, like 20 pages is like an introduction from the person who translated the book and talking about Kardec's life. And it's just like so much. I can't wait. I've got to jump ahead. I like to skip ahead. I just do. I know I'm going to buy a bed on Saturday. Thursday, I'm outside buying the sheet. I'm out in the store buying the sheets. I skip ahead. I do. Sometimes I skip ahead. Before my husband and I got together, I said, well, I've seen your eyes in my dreams as my daughter. My daughter will have those eyes, so if you want to go to a hotel, we'll get a turkey baster. We don't have to do anything, but if you want to make a donation to me, that's the one I want. We ended up 13 years married, but I skip ahead. I do things. I put the cart before the horse, like, all the time. That's just me. I tell people it's probably because I'm dyslexic. I'm starting to look up pool man. I wrote a list of things I need for my house I'm going to buy. I haven't bought it. Don't have the money yet, but I wrote down all the things for the house. So I'm like, oh yeah, pool man. I wrote pool boy. I'm like, oh man, why do I have to have sexism in this list? Cross off the word boy, write the word man, pool man. Oh yeah, that is a thing. I thought it was only pool boy. No, that's only in sexist movies from the 80s. Okay, right. Moving right along. But yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about this book that's coming up before, and then I could just go right into the reading of it. Okay, so the Spirits Book, Le Livre des Esprits. I don't know if I'm saying that right in French. This is written by a man who, his name is not Allan Kaldec, okay? Let me see here. I don't even know if it has his name on this little thing I'm looking at, but his original name is Hippolyte Léon Rivail. I forgot, he has another name in there somewhere. His second middle name I didn't remember, but Rivail. Anyway, if you go see the movie Kardec on Netflix, which please go see it. Oh my God, I'm not giving anything away from the movie. The movie is about how this book I'm about to read you tonight came about. So I'm not going to give you a whole lot of information because you could go watch the movie in 2 hours and you're going to be like, oh my God, it's like such a good movie. But it was after the Spanish Inquisition, And people were leery of this, but yet they came after him. I'm not going to give it away, but they started to come after him because he wrote and published this book. And he based psychic mediumship on scientific principles. And I mean, he was a translator, he was a teacher, he was a scientist, he was a brilliant man. And he started what is called the movement of Spiritism. And he wrote 5 books. I think he might have wrote more, but I can find 5 on the internet. So I'm thinking about reading 2 out of the 5 for you. And the other ones you can go read for yourself. He did one, it's a treatise on heaven and hell based on what the spirits told him. That might be interesting. I can't remember the others right this moment, but it's not on this list I'm looking at. So anyway, this was first published, this book, the Sprits Book, was published on April 18th, 1857. So how old is that? It's like 165 or something like that. Years old, something like that. 162, is that right? Maybe. I'm looking at 1857. My ex was born in 1957, 100 years later. So how old would he be this year? I'm thinking, would he have been 62? Maybe. Yeah, 72? Damn, no. No, he would have been 62 this year. So yeah, this is 162 years old, this book. It was the first and remains the most important Spiritist book. And it addresses all of the questions originally developed by Allan Kaldec. And the reason why he didn't use his own name is because one of the first things the spirits told him when he was starting to do his research is that he was a Celtic druid in a past life, and his name was Allan Kaldec in that life. And so he was like, wow, all right. So he decided to use a pseudonym, and he took on his old name, and he says, I have no problem using the name that already was mine. Again, I'm going to use it. And it was just so appropriate, right, for that. So anyway, imagine after the Inquisition was over and the church is very much putting their conch in everybody's business. And then he comes up with this book, and when I start to read it, you're going to go, "Oh my God!" I mean, it's for us today. It's like fascinating, interesting. Let's hear more. But 162 years ago, people were like, "Oh my God, this is heresy! You're talking to demons." People start freaking out. So watch the movie. You're going to see what happens. It's pretty interesting. So he published this 7 years after the Fox sisters were doing their thing, when they first started any talking to the dead. And this was in a time, what he got interested in was the spinning tables. People were going to, in Paris, there were salons, and the salons were where you go to have seances, and people would all sit in a room, and, you know, people sitting around a table, and they would try to make the tables move, and the spirits would move the tables. They would lift them way up off the ground. And see, when I first heard about table tipping, I'm like, oh, this is just... it's done with levers and pulleys. It's BS. That's like, you know, the Fox sisters, you know. Sometimes they weren't always 100% honest. So, you know, my husband, who was born 1957, that one, he told me, oh, no, it's real. It's absolutely real. When he was a little boy, they would hold seances, and he would be in the other room, or sometimes he'd participate. But he knew for a fact that Grandma Marion, this is another Grandma Marion story, and his cousin Alice, and also Oh, who else? Oh, and his grandmother, Dorothy. They would have other people come, and they would hold these seances. And they'd sit around a round wooden table. They'd all put their hands on the table, and they would ask the spirits to come, and they would ask questions. And I'm assuming that if the table spins to the right, it's yes, and if it spins to the no, it's left. It spins to the no, it's left. Spins to the left, it's no. See, told you guys, dyslexic. And if it, but a lot of times a knocking, like a kind of sound, would be on the table. And they would do and in France, they'd be like 1 knock means A, 2 knocks means B, 3, C, and all that. And, but my husband said when he was a little boy, he saw it. He says, it's absolutely real. There was no pulleys. He got under the tables and inspected it himself the next day. How did you do that? And his grandmother was like, no, I didn't do it. The spirits did it. It's really real. Really a real thing. But the tables would it would get off the floor, and then the end of the table would hit the floor with a thud, and it would startle him. He said it was a little spooky. It was spooky. But they knew how to surround themselves with white light and only call the spirits that they wanted to talk to. And they would summon the spirits. When I telepath with spirits, I don't summon them. I ask them where they're at. I don't force them to come here, I ask them, hey, are you available? And if they're not, I'll go, okay, and respect their space. It's a quick question. Are you available, and do you want to talk? And usually they come to me, though, when they want to talk. Like when Ari channeled Art Bell, he wanted to talk to me. He came to me. He said he's been watching my show. He's been listening, and he's been really interested in it. And he's really happy that I'm doing it. And that I'm going beyond a lot of things that he wanted to do, but he was a little afraid to get too far into it, And he was a skeptical person, and a lot more than me. So that's the nature of the show's always taking a turn towards the direction of the person who's, hosting, who's directing, leading it. Anyway, but this book, it changed the world as far as how people viewed themselves. Whoa, spirits do live on past the body. We are alive and never, ever, 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 ever die. Huh. Very interesting. It really opened up people's spirituality. But back 162 years ago. All right. Without further ado, guys, I'm going to get right into it because this is already going to be a very long episode. All right. I'll be right back after this. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the Anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you. All right, I have one note before we get into the reading of the Spirits Book. How he came about this information is he went to several people that were psychic mediums, and the spirits would come through these people and do automatic writing or various methods. And if you watch the movie, you'll see. But he asked them all the same questions, and the answers that came were almost identical from every single medium who did not know any of the other mediums. He didn't reveal his sources, and so that makes it pretty exciting, right? Like the fact that he was getting four answers from four people, or three people. Well, no, it was four people. And they, all the answers are the same. And that's how the book came about, because then he realized, okay, using scientific method, I mean, if this was just a fluke, or if it's not real and these people are making their stuff up, then they would have four different answers for four different people. And since they had the exact same answers from four different people, that's what gave him pause. Because at first he didn't believe it. Scientist, he's like, I don't think this is real. I think all this is a bunch of nonsense. And he wanted to set out to prove one way or the other. And he was shocked to discover it was real. And that's what started the Spiritism movement. It converted him for sure because of this. So anyway, this is it. We're going to get into it. The Spirits Book. Book first, Causes, Chapter 1, God. And then it says, number 1, God and infinity. Number 2, proofs of the existence of God. Number 3, attributes of the divinity. Number 4, pantheism. So the first section is God and infinity. And it's very scientifically written. So, number 1, what is God? God is the supreme intelligence, first cause of all things. Number 2, what is to be understood by infinity? That which has neither beginning nor end, the unknown. All that is unknown is infinite. Number 3, can it be said that God is infinity? An incomplete definition. Poverty of human speech, incompetent to define what transcends human intelligence. Then underneath that answer it says, God is infinite in his perfections, but infinity is an abstraction. To say that God is infinity is to substitute the attribute of a thing for the thing itself, and to define something unknown by reference to some other thing equally unknown. So there's a little footnote here where it says God is the supreme intelligence, first cause of all things. There's a little 1 after that. And so at the bottom of the page it says 1. The passage placed between inverted commas after each question is a reply made by the communicating spirits, whose very words are given textually throughout the whole of this book. The remarks and developments occasionally added by the author are printed in smaller type wherever they might otherwise be confounded with the replies of the spirits themselves. Where the author's remarks occupy an entire chapter or chapters, an ordinary type is used, as in that case, no such confusion should occur. All right, good. So, yeah, this last thing where it says basically you can't reference something that's unknown by saying something else that's equally as unknown. That was Allan Kaldec, we'll call him. That was his words. Okay. So, all right. So now that we've cleared some of that up. All right. Proofs of the existence of God. So question 4, he asked, what proof have we of the existence of God? And the answer was this: the axiom which you apply in all your scientific researches, there is no effect without a cause. Search out the cause of whatever is not the work of man, and reason will furnish the answer to your question. That's what the Spirit said. Now, what he said, he added his own note. To assure ourselves of the existence of God, we have only to look abroad for the works of creation. The universe exists, therefore it has a cause. To doubt the existence of God is to doubt that every effect has a cause, and to assume that something can have been made by nothing. It was made by nothing, the no thing, which is another name for God. So, anyway, that was just my note, but okay. Question 5. What is to be inferred by the intuition of the existence of God, which may be said to be the common property of the human mind? That God exists, for whence could the human mind derive this intuition if it had no real basis? The inference to he drawn from the fact of this intuition is a corollary of the axiom: there is no effect without a cause. That's what the Spirit said. All right. Question 6. May not our seemingly intuitive sense of the existence of God be the result of education and of acquired ideas? And they answered, if such were the case, how should this intuitive sense be possessed by your savages? I think that might be a tongue-in-cheek question. Sorry about that, guys. That word savages, it's really like 162 years ago. I guess that was okay. It's not really okay now, right? In his note here, if the intuition of the existence of a supreme being were only the result of education, it would not be universal and would only exist, like all other acquired knowledge, in the minds of those who had received special education to which it would be due. So basically what he's saying is so we're all intuiting that there is a supreme being. Most of us feel it, know it, have experienced parts of it, have felt moments in which that presence was with us, right? And if it was just a result of education, it'd only be in places where that was taught. But all cultures, no matter how primitive they were, have always had that deeper spiritual knowledge. They might be living simply, but they're not just simply living. They're actually feeling and experiencing that existence of God, right? All right. Question 7. Is the first cause of the formation of things to be found in the essential properties of matter? The Spirit's answer: if such were the case, what would be the cause of those properties? There must always be a first cause. And so his notes: to attribute the first formation of things to the essential properties of matter would be to take the effect for the cause, for those properties are themselves an effect, which must have a cause. All right. Question 8. What is it to be thought of the opinion that attributes the first formation of things to a fortuitous combination of matter, in other words, to chance? And the spirits say, another absurdity. Who that is possessed of common sense can regard chance as an intelligent agent? And besides, what is chance? Nothing. So Allan says, the harmony which regulates the mechanism of the universe can only result from combinations adopted in view of predetermined ends. Basically, the universe cannot be made by chance because there's an end in sight to it. Okay, so basically, all right, the harmony which regulates the mechanism of the universe can only result from combinations adopted in view of predetermined ends, and thus, by its very nature, reveals the existence of an intelligent power. To attribute the first formation of things to chance is nonsense, for chance cannot produce the results of intelligence. If chance could be intelligent, it would cease to be chance. There you go. There it is. Oh my God, that's crazy. All right. I'm liking this book so far. Okay. Number 9. What proof have we that the first cause of all things is a supreme intelligence, superior to all other intelligences? The spirits answered it this way. You have a proverb which says, the workman is known by his work. Look around you, and from the quality of the work, infer that of the workman. Yep. We judge, and then Allan writes, we judge of the power of an intelligence by its works, as no human being could create that which is produced by nature. It is evident that the first cause must be an intelligence superior to man. Whatever may be the prodigies accomplished by human intelligence, that intelligence itself must have a cause, and the greater the results achieved by it, the greater must be the cause of which it is the effect. It is this supreme intelligence that is the first cause of all things, whatever the name by which mankind may designate it. Well, there you go. It took us 12 and a half minutes to prove the existence of God. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. Using scientific rational thinking. Oh my God. This is an incredible book. Okay. This is like totally different than the other books that I'm reading. In fact, the book I'm going to be reading starting this coming Saturday, it's going to be also very intriguing and very metaphysical, very, very deep stuff. But this one is, this is employing the scientific method. And the other book I'm going to be reading is also extremely old. It's over 100 years old, and it's going to teach us, telepathy and different things. But I'm loving this, but I'm going to have to keep pulling you guys out of the book because I have to keep telling you who's speaking because of the way it's written. So forgive me for that. It's going to be a little bit, hopefully that won't become tedious. Okay. All right. Here's the next section. Attributes of the divinity. 10. Question 10. Can man comprehend the essential nature of God? The spirits answer, no, he lacks the sense required for comprehending it. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Question 11. Will man ever become able to comprehend the mystery of the divine? Spirit's answer: when his mind shall no longer be obscured by matter and train off the frog. Okay. When his mind shall no longer be obscured by matter, and when by his perfection he shall have brought himself nearer to God, he will see and comprehend him. So what Kardec writes: the inferiority of the human faculties renders it impossible for man to comprehend the essential nature of God. In the infancy of the race, man confounds often the Creator with the creature, and attributes to the former the imperfections of the latter. But in proportion his moral sense becomes developed, man's thought penetrates more deeply into the nature of things, and he is able to form to himself a juster and a more rational idea of the divine being, although his idea of that being must always be imperfect and incomplete. Okay, question 12. If we cannot comprehend the essential nature of God, can we have an idea of some of his perfections? The Spirit's answer: yes, of some of them. Man comprehends them better in proportion as he raises himself above matter. He obtains glimpses of them through the exercise of his intelligence. Question 13. When we say that God is eternal, infinite, unchangeable, immaterial, unique, all-powerful, sovereignty, just and good, have we not a complete idea of his attributes? The Spirit's answer: yes, judging from your point of view, because you think that you sum up everything in those terms, but you must understand that there are things which transcend the intelligence of the most intelligent man, and for which your language, limited to your ideas and sensations, has no expressions. Your reason tells you that God must possess those perfections in the supreme degree. For if one of them were lacking, or were not possessed by him in an infinite degree, he would be superior to all, and consequently would not be God. In order to be above all things, God must undergo no vicissitudes. He must have none of the imperfections of which the imagination can conceive. All right, so this next part is written by Allan Kaldec. He writes, God is eternal. If he had had a beginning, he must either have sprung from nothing or have been created by some other anterior to himself. It is thus, Matt, step by step, we arrive at the idea of infinity and eternity. God is unchangeable. If he were subject to change, the laws which rule the universe would have no stability. Yeah, he is fixed, right? Okay. God is immaterial. That is to say that his nature differs from everything that we call matter or otherwise. He would not be unchangeable, for he would be subject to the transformations of matter. God is unique. If there were several gods, there would be neither unity of plan nor unity of power in the ordaining of the universe. God is all-powerful because he is unique. If he did not possess sovereign power, there would be something more powerful or no less powerful than himself. He would not have created all things, and those which he had not created would be the work of another God. God is sovereignty, just and good. The providential wisdom of the divine laws is revealed as clearly in the smallest things as in the greatest, and this wisdom renders it impossible to doubt either his justice or his goodness. Okay, now we come to pantheism. Question 14. Is God a being distinct from the universe, or is he, according to the opinion of some, the result of all of the forces and intelligences of the universe? And this is what the spirits say. If the latter were the case, God would not be God, for he would be effect and not cause. He cannot be both cause and effect. God exists. You cannot doubt his existence, and that is one essential point. Do not seek to go beyond it. Do not lose yourselves in a labyrinth which for you is without an issue. Such inquiries would not make you better. They would rather tend to add to your pride by causing you to imagine that you knew something while in reality you would know nothing. Put aside systems. You have things enough to think about that concern you much more nearly, beginning with yourselves. Study your own imperfections that you may get rid of them. This will be far more useful to you than the vain attempt to penetrate the impenetrable. Question 15. What is to be thought of the opinion according to which all natural bodies, all of the beings, all the globes of the universe are parts of the divinity and constitute in their totality the divinity itself? In other words, the pantheistic theory. The spirits answer, man, not being able to make himself God, would fain make himself out to be at least a part of God. Now, question 16. Those who hold this theory profess to find in it the demonstration of some of the attributes of God, the worlds of the universe being infinitely numerous. God is thus seen to be infinite, vacuum, or nothingness. Being nowhere, God is everywhere. God being everywhere, since everything is an integral part of God. He is thus seen to be the intelligent cause of all the phenomena of the universe. What can we oppose to this argument? And the answer that the spirits give, the dictates of reason. Reflect on the assumption in question, and you will have no difficulty in detecting its absurdity. Okay. So he had something further to say. So Allan Kaldec writes, the pantheistic theory makes of God a material being who, though endowed with a supreme intelligence, would only be on a larger scale than what we are on, a smaller one. But as matter is incessantly undergoing transformation, God, if this theory were true, would have no stability. He would be subject to all the vicissitudes and even to the needs of humanity. He would lack one of the essential attributes of the divinity, viz., unchangeableness. The properties of matter cannot be attributed to God without degrading our idea of the divinity, and all of the subtleties of sophistry fail to solve the problem of his essential nature. We do not know what God is, but we know that it is impossible that he should not be, and the theory just stated is in contradiction with his most essential attributes. It confounds the Creator with the creation, precisely as though we should consider an ingenious machine to be an integral portion of the mechanician who invented it. Or mechanician. He says mechanician. I guess that's a word in France. I could just say the word inventor. We should consider an ingenious machine to be an integral portion of the inventor who invented it. The intelligence of God is revealed in his works, as is that of a painter in his picture. But the works of God are no more God himself than the picture is the artist who conceived it and painted it. Chapter 2. General elements of the universe. Number 1, knowledge of the first principles of things. Number 2, spirit and matter. Number 3, properties of matter. Number 4, universal space. First section, knowledge of the first principles of things. Question 17. Is it given to mankind to know the first principle of things? Spirits answer, no, there are things that cannot be understood by man in this world. Question 18. Will man ever be able to penetrate the mystery of things now hidden from him? The spirits answer, the veil will be raised for him in proportion as he accomplishes his purification. But in order to understand certain things, he would need faculties which he does not yet possess. Question 19. Cannot man, through scientific investigation, penetrate some of the secrets of nature? Spirits answer, the faculty of scientific research has been given to him as a means by which he may advance in every direction, but he cannot overstep the limits of his present possibilities. Allan Kaldec writes, the farther man advances in the study of the mysteries around him, the greater should be his admiration of the power and wisdom of the Creator. But partly through pride, partly through weakness, his intellect itself often renders him the sport of illusion. He heaps systems upon systems, and every day shows him how many errors he has mistaken for truths, how many truths he has repelled as errors. All this should be a lesson for his pride. Question 20. Is man permitted to receive communications of a higher order in regard to matters which, not being within the scope of his senses, are beyond the pale of scientific investigation? The spirits answer, yes, when God judges such revelations to be useful, he reveals to man what science is incompetent to teach him. Allan Kaldec writes, it is through communication of this higher order that man is enabled, within certain limits, to obtain a knowledge of his past and his future destiny. Okay. Spirit and matter. Question 21. Has matter existed from all eternity like God, or has it been created at some definite period of time? The spirits answer, God only knows. There is nevertheless one point which your reason should suffice to show you, viz. That God, the prototype of love and beneficence, can never have been inactive. However far off in the past you may imagine the beginning of his action, can you suppose him to have been for a single moment inactive? Question 22. Matter is generally defined as being that which has extension, that which can make an impression upon our senses, that which possesses impenetrability. Are these definitions correct? The Spirit's answer: from your point of view, they are correct, because you can only define in accordance with what you know. But matter exists in states which are unknown to you. It may be, for instance, so ethereal and subtle as to make no impression upon your senses, and yet it is still matter, although it would not be such for you. That's interesting. I mean, just to stop for a quick second, when we're going into the fifth dimension, I have a feeling we're going to start to experience that right now. The more we purify ourselves, and that's true, that's all we've been doing, purification, right? I'm so glad I'm reading this 162 years later. Oh my God. We've come a long way spiritually. Okay. The follow-up question to what they said, he says, what definition can you give of matter? The Spirit's right. Matter is the element which enchains spirit, the instrument which serves it, and upon which at the same time it exerts its action. So he writes, from this point of view, it may be said that matter is the agent, the intermediary through which and upon which spirit acts. Question 23. What is spirit? Spirit's answer: the intelligent principle of the universe. A follow-up question. What is the essential nature of spirit? The Spirit's answer: it is not possible to explain the nature of spirit in your language. For you, it is not a thing, because it is not palpable, but for us, it is a thing. Question 24. Is spirit synonymous with intelligence? Spirit's answer: intelligence is an essential attribute of spirit, but both merge in a unitary principle, so that for you, they may be said to be the same thing. Question 25. Is spirit independent of matter, or is it only one of the pro-properties of matter, as colors are a property of light, and as sound is a property of the air? That's a good question. The answer from the spirits: spirit and matter are distinct from one another, but the union of spirit and matter is necessary to give intelligent activity to matter. And then the follow-up question: is this union equally necessary to the manifestation of spirit? We refer in this question to the principle of intelligence, abstractly considered, without reference to the individualities designated by that term. And the Spirit's answer: it is necessary for you, because you are not organized for perceiving spirit apart from matter. Your senses are not formed for that order of perception. Question 26. Can spirit be conceived of without matter, and matter without spirit? And the spirits say, undoubtedly, as objects of thought. Yeah, undoubtedly, that means, yeah, of course. Question 27. There are then two general elements of the universe, matter and spirit? The Spirit's answer: yes, and above them both is God, the creator, parent of all things. These three elements are the principle of all that exists, the universal Trinity. But to the material element must be added the universal fluid, which plays the part of intermediary between spirit and matter, the nature of the latter being too gross for spirit to be able to act directly upon it. Although from another point of view, this fluid may be classed as forming part of the material element, it is nevertheless distinguished from that element by certain special properties of its own. If it could be classed simply and absolutely as matter, there would be no reason why spirit also should not be classed as matter. It is intermediary between spirit and matter. It is fluid, just as matter is matter, and is susceptible of being made through its innumerable combinations with matter, under the directing action of spirit, to produce the infinite variety of things of which you know as yet but a very small portion. This universal, primitive, or elementary fluid, being the agent employed by spirit in acting upon matter, is the principle without which matter would remain forever in a state of division, and would never acquire the properties given to it by the state of ponderability. And then the follow-up question, is this fluid what we designate by the name of electricity? The Spirit's answer, we have said that it is susceptible of innumerable combinations. What you call the electric fluid, the magnetic fluid, etc., are modifications of the universal fluid, which, properly speaking, is only matter of a more perfect and more subtle kind, and that may be considered as having an independent existence on its own. My God, that's a lot to comprehend, isn't it? Okay, question 28. Since spirit itself is something, would it not be more correct and clearer to designate these two general elements by the terms inert matter and intelligent matter? The Spirit's answer, questions of words are of little importance for us. It is for you to formulate your definitions in such a manner as to make yourselves intelligible to one another. Your disputes almost always arise from the want of a common agreement in the use of the words you employ, owing to the incompleteness of your language in regard to all that does not strike your senses. Allan Kaldec writes, one fact patent to all observers dominates our hypothesis. We see matter which is not intelligent. We see the action of an intelligent principle independent of matter. The origin and connection of these two things are unknown to us. Whether they have or have not a common source and points of contact preordained in the nature of things, whether intelligence has an independent existence of its own, or is only a property or an effect, or even whether it is, as some assume it to be, an emanation of the divinity, are points about which we know nothing. Matter and intelligence appear to us to be distinct, and we therefore speak of them as being two constituent elements of the universe. We see above these a higher intelligence which governs all things, and is distinguished from them by all essential attributes peculiar to itself. It is this supreme intelligence that we call God. Properties of matter. Question 29. Is density an essential attribute of matter? The spirits answer, yes, of matter as understood by you, but not of matter considered as the universal fluid. The ethereal and subtle matter which forms this fluid is imponderable for you, and yet it is none the less the principle of your ponderable matter. Allan Kaldec writes, density is a relative property. Beyond the sphere of attraction of the various globes of the universe, there is no such thing as weight. Just as there's no such thing, just as there is neither up nor down. Okay. There is no such thing as weight. And what he means by that is, if you're standing on the planet, the force at which you are adhering to the planet is the force of gravity that the planet itself possesses. And the planet holds you to the planet through the use of gravity. So when you step on a scale and you weigh a lot, or you weigh your weight, that's just it's just to measure how much this planet is holding you to it through the use of gravity. You don't really weigh anything except the gravity holds you. So if you have more muscle, you have more mass, more density. So you're going to quote unquote weigh more because the material of your body is more packed tightly with more electrons and matter packed more densely. And so the earth will hold you closer to it because you are you're denser. So gravity is affected by the density of matter, of mass. People that weigh a lot because they're really physically big, that's because they have more mass than people who are very, very thin and don't weigh as much. The earth will hold bigger bodies to it harder, or like more intensely. And so when you step on a scale in the morning, you don't weigh anything, but that just tells you how much the earth hugs you. The earth is holding you to it, more or less, depending on what you eat, because it depends on how dense your physical matter is, how densely packed it is, or how much it weighs based on how much matter your spirit is currently occupying. Hopefully that makes some of you feel better. And it also explains why he says weight doesn't exist. Weight doesn't exist. It's weird, right? Because if you were out in outer space where there wasn't a planetary body with gravity, you would be floating. You know why? Because you don't weigh anything. It's freaky to think about. When you put it that way, it kind of expands your mind, right? And there really isn't any up or down when you get out into outer space. What is up? What is down? No one knows. There isn't really one thing or the other. We just assume it is one way, but Australians in their own globe, the earth is different. They're on top. And they're not wrong. Because there's no up or down scientifically. Things fall down because of gravity. But in outer space, they would float because there's no up or down. Okay. Question 30. Is matter formed by one element or of several elements? And the spirits say of one primitive element. The bodies which you regard as simple are not really elementary. They are only transformations of the primitive matter. Question 31. Whence come the different properties of matter? The answer the spirits give. From the modifications undergone by the elementary molecules as the result of their union and of the action of certain conditions. Question 32. According to this view of the subject, savors, odors, savors is like flavors, savors, odors, colors, sounds, the poisonous or the salutary qualities of bodies are only the result of modifications of one and the same primitive substance? The spirits answer, yes, undoubtedly, and that only exists in virtue of the disposition of the organs destined to perceive them. Wow. That's very interesting. Okay, he says, this principle is proved by the fact that the qualities of bodies are not perceived by all persons in the same manner. The same thing appears agreeable to the taste of one person and disagreeable to that of another. What appears blue to one person appears red to another. What is poison for some might be wholesome for others. Wow. Very interesting. Okay, question 33. Is the same elementary matter susceptible of undergoing all possible modifications and of acquiring all possible qualities? The spirits answer, yes, and it is this fact which implies in the saying that everything is in everything. So he writes, Allan Kaldec writes, oxygen, hydrogen, azote, carbon, and all the other bodies which we regard as simple are only modifications of one primitive substance. But the impossibility in which we have hitherto found ourselves of arriving at this primitive matter otherwise than as an intellectual deduction causes these bodies to appear to us to be really elementary, and we may therefore, without impropriety, continue for the present to regard them as such. So he asked this question as a follow-up. Does not this theory appear to bear out the opinion of those who admit only two essential properties in matter, viz., force and movement, and who regard all the other properties of matter as being merely secondary effects of these, varying according to the intensity of the force and the direction of the movement? And the spirits write, that opinion is correct, but you must also add according to the mode of molecular arrangement as you see exemplified. For instance, in an opaque body that may become transparent and vice versa. I'm going to be thinking about that one as I lay in bed tonight. Question 34. Have the molecules of matter a determinate form? And you guys have to remember, okay, these questions are asked before we had electron microscopes, okay, 162 years. Like, think about how intelligent this man is, that he's thinking beyond what science knows of his day. He's got that curious mind. And that's what took this book so far. I like the science mixed with spirit. It's just so... Okay, I love this book. All right. I hope you guys are liking this. All right. Question 34. Have the molecules of matter a determinate form? The spirits answer, those molecules undoubtedly have a form, but one which is not appreciable by your organs. And the follow-up question, is that form constant or variable? The spirits answer, constant for the primitive elementary molecules, but variable for secondary molecules, which are themselves only agglomerations of the primary ones. For what you term a molecule is still very far from being the elementary molecule. universal space. Question 35. Is universal space infinite or limited? And then at the bottom, okay, let's see, where are we at? When he said have the molecules of matter a determinate form, there was a footnote I missed. At the bottom of the page it says, this principle explains a phenomenon familiar to all magnetizers, viz. the imparting to any given substance to water, for example, of very different qualities, such as specific flavors or even the active qualities. Okay. All right. Universal space. Question 35. Is universal space infinite or limited? The Spirit's answer. Infinite. Suppose the existence of boundaries. What would there be beyond them? This consideration confounds human reason, and nevertheless, your reason itself tells you that it cannot be otherwise. It is thus with the idea of infinity, under whatever aspect you consider it, the idea of infinity cannot be comprehended in your narrow sphere. And Kardec writes, if we imagine a limit to space, no matter how far off our thought may place this limit, our reason tells us that there must still be something beyond it, and so on, step by step, until we arrive at the idea of infinity. For the something beyond, the existence of which is recognized by our thought as necessity, were it only an absolute void, would still be space. Question 36. Does an absolute void exist in any part of space? The Spirit's answer, no, there is no void. What appears like a void to you is occupied by matter in a state in which it escapes the action of your senses and of your instruments. Oh, I'm sorry. The footnote continued on to the second page, so I'm going to start from the beginning and read that again. This principle explains a phenomenon familiar to all magnetizers, viz. The imparting to any given substances to water, for example, very different qualities, such as specific flavors or even the active qualities of other substances. As there is but one primitive element, and as the properties of different bodies are only modifications of this element, it follows that the substance of the most inoffensive and of the most deleterious bodies is absolutely the same. Thus, water, which is formed of one equivalent oxygen and two equivalents hydrogen, becomes corrosive if we double the proportion of oxygen. An analogous transformation may be produced through the action of animal magnetism directed by the human will. Whoa! So did you guys catch that? An analogous transformation may be produced through the action of animal magnetism directed by human will. So he's saying that we can use our minds to change the properties of water. So can you believe that? 162 years ago, he was starting to arrive at the studies that Masaru Emoto proved just recently in the past 20 years, right? And actually even sooner than that, like, was it 15 years ago maybe? I mean, that's pretty cool, right? That blows my mind. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I'm going to stop here because it's already been almost an hour. Can you believe it? Okay. Hopefully it flew by for you too. I like that though. There's no void in space. What appears like a void to you is occupied by matter in a state in which it escapes the action of your senses and of your instruments. I mean, fifth dimension, right? Higher dimensions. My God. this book is way more exciting than I thought it would be, because this is why he got kicked out of his scientific society. People were rioting in the streets against him. He created a stir with this book. This is a really interesting study, that he's asking questions that scientists would ask and then go about trying to find the answers themselves, but he's asking them of spirits that people are telepathing or channeling directly. I can see why this was such a controversial book, and why it sparked so much anger from the church, right? I mean, they just thought this was absolute heresy. And it's interesting, they did know that, so they did have microscopes then, right? I need to look that up. So in 1862, because he knew that oxygen and hydrogen make up water. But they did not know about the nucleus and the electrons. They didn't know about electrons back then. So pretty interesting stuff. Well, I'm going to come back next Monday and start with chapter 3. If you want to comment on this, go ahead and go to my Metaphysical Soul Speak group page, the group on Facebook. Or you could just go to Metaphysical Soul Speak page directly, or write me metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com if you want to talk about this. Because I wouldn't mind talking about this. This is really freaking interesting stuff. I mean, you take a super curious scientific mind and then couple that with all the knowledge of the universe from the spirits who are like in heaven or something, right? I have a feeling that these guys that he's talking to, they're his spiritual team. And if you want to know about your spiritual team, you got to look through my list of episodes until you find it. But how to create your own spiritual team, you can do it. You can talk to your own people. And I tell you how to communicate until you learn how to telepath right in that episode. All right, guys. I mean, I was hoping to get to sleep tonight. Now I think I'm going to be up thinking about this stuff. The ponderability. Oh, the ponderability of it all. Well, I hope that I have left you with a great deal of wonderment, and that I've taken you out of your everyday mundane lives. Not that you have a mundane life, but we all have parts. I have a lot of mundane parts to my life. And I like sometimes to get beyond it and move past the edges of my box and peer over the edge and see what's on the other side. Yeah, okay. Yeah, welcome to my mind. I hope that you're the same. It's me. I hope that you're just as curious about what comes next. We're leaving this on page 73 out of 429. We only got 2 chapters in. All right, well, now we know. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for being on this soul journey with me and ascending with me. What I did mean to say earlier is I want you to go out in the sun. I want you to use a magnifying glass, not a magnifying glass, but a magnifying app, and take pictures of your skin, and I want you to see the rainbow crystalline formations. We are physically changing. We are physically changing. We are physically ascending. We are in the 5th dimension. That's scientific proof. That's what I started to say earlier. I noticed that a lot of rainbows in my skin as I was laying in the sun the other day. So there it is. All right, guys, that's all I got to say about that for now. I don't want to read ahead. I want to discover it with you guys, but I really want to read the rest of his book. Maybe I'll go find another one of his books and read it. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that now. I'm just signing off now with love and peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy 5th dimension. Until next time, guys, peace. Do you ever wish you could look into the next chapter in your book of life and see what's coming next? What does the universe have in store for you? I can help you with that. I will give you a Celtic cross reading, which is 10 cards, or you can ask me 3 questions, and I use 3 cards per question. So that's 9 cards, or I can channel your higher guidance, or maybe God directly for you. Maybe you want to talk to your dear departed Aunt Edna, because maybe you have a few questions and she was the smartest person you knew. If your deceased relatives are available or your ascended masters, I can channel them for you personally. Let me have 1 hour to show you the future in your next chapter of your book of life. Readings are $75, and it takes me an hour to an hour and a half to complete. And for this price, you will also be hooked up to the healing grid around the planet for free, which means yours truly, me, I will be giving you Reiki 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life. All you have to do is let me know. metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com, and we will explore your future together.